Hello and welcome back, guys. I hope you guys had an amazing week. I know we did, right, Ricardo?
Oh, it was so good, studying for midterms, got multiple homeworks due.
Oh, I definitely don't miss the student life.
No,
I don't.
On weeks where all this is due, it's not fun.
But then again, I kind of do. I'm considering of going back for my master's, but we'll see. Can you pay for it?
Probably not. So today's gonna be kind of a more normal to what we plan on having forward. I know our previous episode, it was really just a quick introduction and where we want to take this, but this is how we plan on having our episodes form from here on out. So we're gonna start off with Esther. She is a first generation college graduate. She is the second youngest of 6 siblings.
6.
She's 2 years out of college with a civil engineering degree, and she's worked on multiple projects from community park restorations to seawalls. However, she's making a big life decision, not only to do this podcast with me, but she's also recently leaving her job. Actually, isn't today your last day?
Yeah, I'm kind of sad, but, as we mentioned in the previous podcast, change is scary, but necessary, and it's good. So, I had definitely had that in my mind for the past few months of like resigning my job, and yeah, it's scary but exciting because I have a few offers already waiting for me, but I think I'm going to take the time to take a break from it because I felt like I didn't get that like after graduating, and just enjoy what makes me happy, and then like I got to go back to work. But yeah.
Yeah, so let's rewind this back a little bit and tell us a little bit about your background.
Yeah, so like Ricardo said, I am number 5 out of 6 kids. I was born in Mexico, in Ensenada, Mexico. My parents immigrated to the United States when I was probably like 6 or 7, and I've been here all my life. By what the law considers me or names me, categorizes me as a DACA recipient. If some of you guys are not familiar with that, basically am provided with a social security and a work permit that allows me to stay in the United States and protects me from any like deportation and stuff like that. But yeah, I am a DACA recipient, and I am the number 5 of 6 kids again. And growing up was not easy in a household of 6 kids, because my parents were always working, and we at a young age had to start working as well, or help them out, like working in the fields and stuff like that. I know, like, if I recall my summers, when I was young, it was all working in the fields with my sisters and my mom, and yeah, it's kind of sorry, I get a little emotional. I'm sorry. Oh gosh. It was hard. But I feel like going through all the struggles with my family, it shaped the person that I am today. It taught me to be tough, to work hard for what I want in life. And I felt like if my parents hadn't put us through all that, I mean, not that they wanted to, but like, it was necessary because we were extremely poor, and in the summers, my sisters and I would go and help my mom to try to make some money for them and help them pay the bills and stuff like that. And yeah, it was definitely life-changing, and my parents taught us to work hard, because if we don't go to school, the fields are waiting for us, and life in the fields is really hard. For those that have worked in the fields, you know what I'm talking about. And just having to wake up super early and be under the rays of the sun all day to get paid minimum wage, it's hard. And imagining that being your full-time job for the rest of your life it's crazy.
Amazing. I mean, it's amazing that you're able to get through that and, find yourself where you are, graduated with the engineering degree. And how did you do that? How did you choose engineering as your path?
So, going through high school, I was an avid, um, but I just felt like I guess I just never imagined myself being an engineer. Um, I wasn't the best at chemistry or math. I wasn't bad at math, but it just intimidated me for some reason. And it wasn't until my senior year, I guess, because of my older sister that, she went to college right after high school. She was the first one that broke those barriers. Her and my brother, I want to say, yeah. And she started looking for those opportunities of what's more out there than just high school. And if it wasn't for them, I don't think I'd be here today, you know. And right after I graduated, I was supposed to go to Fresno State to be a business major. And I was going to go with my friend, and we had already planned everything out. And probably the last I want to say like a month before school started, everything went down the toilet. And I guess at that same time too, I was taking a summer class. I was taking statistics. Gross. Yeah, because I wanted to be a business major. And fortunately, I was able to sign up for classes at my community college, and I started taking business classes. And I was on a 2-year track to take all these classes and be out of there within 2 years. And I want to say after my first year, I realized that business was not for me. It just didn't interest me. I was just doing it because I'm like, oh, I'm just going to follow my sister's path. And I think at the time too, I was taking a pre-calculus class. I still remember this professor of mine, Mrs. Chung, super amazing lady. And I was taking her class, and I was like, oh wow, math is fun. Math is, actually enjoyable. And I was actually really good at it. And she's one of the professors that really helped me gain my confidence back in science and math. And one of actually my brother, he's like, you're actually good at math. Have you considered doing engineering? I was like, what is that? So he helped me, and I started looking into what engineering was. And I was like, okay, I know I need a lot of math and physics and all that. And I mean, I'm not so bad at it. And I was like, why not take on that challenge? So I did. I started looking into, I actually just started taking a bunch of engineering classes. And then, I was trying to catch up because I technically lost a year of my first year of college. And yeah, I went through different phases. I first wanted to be an ag engineer, and then a mechanical engineer. And then eventually I reached to what really interests me, which is civil engineering. So how I got into civil engineering was, I remember going with, I believe, the MESA program from my community college to a presentation that Cal Poly had. And from what I remember at that presentation that I got out of was an architect and a civil engineer. Were discussing about the projects that they were working on, assisting underdeveloped communities and all that. And I was like, oh wow, that's that's something that aligns to what I've always wanted to do. So I reached out to one of them, and I told them, oh, this is what I want to do, this is what I have in mind, and this is my ultimate goal. And the engineer suggested for me to look into civil engineering, because I've always had in mind that whatever I decided to do was that I hope in hopes of it making a positive impact in my community. And that was one of the reasons that that caught my attention, because they were helping communities, underdeveloped communities, by helping them build livable homes. And yeah, so that's how I got into civil engineering.
Yeah, I know one of the big topics, especially you being Latina and female engineer, is engineering is very male dominated, and that can be intimidating for people to go into. What were your thoughts when you were looking at engineering as a career, and knowing that?
So yeah, I honestly never thought of like engineering being well, obviously, yeah, it's male dominated, but it just didn't cross my mind at the time as I was attending community college because I still had like, acquaintances and friends that were females. But I could see already that the majority was like male dominated, And it wasn't until I did my first internship in the construction industry in San Francisco where I realized that, oh wow, this is male dominated. It was just me and my mentor at the time, who was also Mexican. We were the only two Mexicans in the department. Oh, a funny story, people thought I was her daughter because we're Mexicans, we all look alike, right? So we were the only two, and then like that like kind of opened my eyes to like, okay, it's okay that it's male dominated. Like, we're here to pave the path for younger generations. And then after that, I graduated, went on to pursue to start my career, did the construction department again. I was the only recent grad female woman of color in my department. All the engineers I was working with were like of 10, 15, years of experience already. Obviously, not 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 Mexican, or which is fine. And it just opened my eyes even more. I'm like, okay, you know, construction is definitely male dominated, you know, and it was a challenge, but I really enjoyed what I did. So I just went with it.
Yeah, and I know going into these type of situations, especially when you're going into a workplace where your peers have 10, 15, 20 years of experience, it definitely can make you feel like an imposter. And that's one thing that we hear really common, or at least that I've heard really common, is this whole imposter syndrome and not feeling good enough. But what are your thoughts? Did you have that feeling when you started working, and how did you overcome it? And did you know that you were good enough, that you are good enough for it?
Yeah, imposter syndrome. I had that probably all the time. It's something that I'm still working on, and especially like I mentioned, going into construction, it's male dominated, and being the only woman of color there was definitely tough. I did feel like out of place because again, I was working alongside with great engineers, don't get me wrong. They had so much years of experience, and then I was there, a recent grad, not having that much field experience or much exposure to engineering besides what I was taught in school. And it was tough. The first few months it was tough because I was like, well, like, maybe this is not meant for me. Maybe I'm not meant to be here. But then I thought about, like, wait, I put myself through so many years of schooling, so many sacrifices that my family had to go through, and myself to be here. No, I deserve to be here. I think we all started the same way, and it's something that I'm still working on, but I think it's important to address that. Yes, I think we all go through imposter syndrome. Um, it's hard because sometimes you do doubt yourself a lot, but I think that's being part of being okay. Working in a environment that makes you feel uncomfortable. Because being uncomfortable is good. It helps you to become a better engineer, become a better person, I want to say, and take on those challenges where some people like are, no, I'm comfortable here, yeah, so yeah, definitely I did have a lot of that, and I'm still working on that because again, my job is working in the construction industry, so men are going to be everywhere. And it's, if we don't make those change, like, encourage more females to go into those industries where it's mainly male dominated, then how are we gonna change that.
Yeah. I do have one like tip that I think we can all take on, and this is especially relevant to recent grads or students or people that are going to graduate soon. Is we as a new grad have the ability to ask a lot of questions and seem naive, you know. And I think this is an important quality that we should take into going to a new job, especially right out of college, because the more questions you ask, the more you're gonna learn about the company, the more you're gonna learn about the process they do. At the same time, it'll also question the people that are working there to make them think about their processes, right? They've been set in their ways for several years, but as a new coworker, you have the ability, and it shouldn't be questioned because you're new, to ask all these questions. Why do we do it like this? How can you explain this process a little more? Can you go in depth about this? And it does a lot of things, in my opinion. It helps you learn about their processes, but at the same time, now that someone has to explain it to you, they have to have a good reasoning why they do it. And if you can find a reason or a way that's better, or suggest a way, it's gonna it'll help get your name out there, and it'll help everyone start communicating with each other in a better way. So I think that we should all take that and try it out. So maybe in your new career, don't be afraid to ask as many questions. Because we're so young, we're given that ability to. And this might be harder. 5 years you've been waiting with some question, and you're like, I've just been doing this process, but I don't. Now it gets harder to ask those questions or understand them. So really take that time and ask as many questions, get to know everyone, and I think that'll help alleviate some of that imposter syndrome. So knowing that, like, was it hard to approach your bosses or any other one of like senior level?
Sometimes I want to say, like, I definitely did work a lot with one engineer very close. I helped him out in several projects, and there was other engineers that I also worked with, but not as much as I did with this other one. And whenever I had questions regarding their projects or the process, um, with like more the seniority level, it was it was a little challenging because I had to make sure at least I felt like I had to make sure my questions were relevant, or were how do you put it, not necessarily dumb, but good questions, because they're busy, and I just felt like it was harder for me to ask questions to those that I didn't work as much with, And this other engineer I worked with very close, he kind of helped me. He actually helped me out a lot. Even though he was super busy, I felt like he did take the time to teach me things. And, if I didn't know something, he would explain it to me, or how the process is out in the field and stuff like that. So, yeah, I guess it depends on who I ask the questions to.
Yeah. um, and knowing where you are now, you're leaving your job, or you're in the process of leaving it. Um, was there a moment that you were like, this is just not for me? Because I know, like, in my past experiences, my moment is when I'm staring blankly into a screen at a document that I have open, so it looks like I have work on my computer. And a lot of those times I just sit there thinking, why am I here? Like, I'm just wasting my time, their time. I need the pay to get through another month of bills. But those are like a lot of the moments where I'm just staring blankly into a computer. Is there like a moment like that you had?
Yeah, so again, I was there for 2 years. I tried leaving after a year, but my boss was like, "Well, what do you need?" I was like, "Well, give me more responsibilities." And by all means, it was not because of the money, you know, but he offered me more money, of course, and I was like, "That's very tempting. What else?" But anyways, I ended up staying another year, but before that, I had addressed to him like, "Here, hey, I need these things because I feel like I'm falling behind. Not that I'm like not doing my work, but I just felt like, out of college, a year after I graduated, like I felt like I needed to be overworked, and I felt like sometimes my work was too mellow, or like, why am I not stressed out, or why am I not putting overtime when I should be? Or not that like it was required at all, but I just had that mentality of like, wait, I always thought like after you graduate you went, you know to get overworked and stuff like that. I don't know. But the point is that I tried leaving a year, and within a year I gave them another year to make sure that what I had addressed to him at that time were going to get met. And nope. I i i did contemplated this decision for about 3 months because I was comfortable with my job. I knew what I was doing. I knew the routine, and it was at some point I was like, what the heck? I'm still young. I need to I think it's time for me to leave. I need to feel challenged. I need to feel like I'm being productive, or feel like I'm making a change. Because to me, it's important to feel like my role is making a difference, if that makes sense. And I wasn't getting that there. At the end of the day, yes, it was paying my bills. Believe me, I was getting paid pretty damn well for what I was doing. Um, but it wasn't again, it wasn't because of the money. you know I At the end of the day, I just wasn't fulfilled. I would come home, kind of like with a not bad attitude, but just not happy. Like, if I had days where like, ugh, whatever, work was like whatever, I it would carry on into my study session, like, because I'm also studying for the PE. So that made it very dreadful. you know um the the way I was reacting to how my work was, making me feel was not good, because it was also affecting those around me. And it got to a point where I remember you telling me that like it was affecting you, and that made me really upset with myself, because you shouldn't have to deal with that, like with that, like my attitude affecting you like that. And it just made me really think. I'm like, no, I think it's time for me to leave this. And it's okay if I don't have something set waiting for me, but I think I just need a break, because it's also important to take good care of your mental health. And yeah, I made that hard decision. It was tough, but I think it's necessary, and I'm happy I took that chance, you know? And yeah.
Yeah. So, how does that experience affect your new job outlook? Like what you're looking for, where you're gonna work. How does how do you take that into your approach?
Yeah. So actually, I have a few offers, but I think I'm going to take some time, to enjoy life and enjoy my hobbies, and then get back to the grind. Um but what I was looking for, when I was applying for these jobs, was how the work life balance was, but also um the job itself. Like, something that, to me, I was going to be working firsthand on. And that was, to me, the biggest thing. Um Being able to be a part of a team that actually makes a difference, and where I know that I'll be able to see my work, you know. So
So what are your plans now?
so right now, well, like I mentioned, I have a few offers, and I am considering taking one. Um but I'm going to take some time off. I'm
Yeah.
going to Yeah, I'm going to spend time with my parents, and try to do some little California traveling, and just, also study, I guess. I forgot. I have to study. But yeah, I'm going to do that.
Yeah. So one more thing before we close up. So if what would your words be to someone that's in your situation where, they're just not motivated by the work they do, but it's good enough that they can make a living, and they're content, but they're, they're not truly happy with what they're doing at work, and it might be affecting their life, what would you tell them?
Um, I guess I would tell them or ask them, is your current job still aligning to your goals, to your future goals? And, if they are, good. If they're not, then maybe you need to make a change. Because, again, I was comfortable with my job. I was getting, paid well, and I was paying my bills and all that. But at the end of the day, you spent a lot of time at your job, so you make sure that it makes you happy and feel fulfilled, and it aligns to what your ultimate goal is. So that to me is something that I would probably ask someone that's in the same situation. Like, do you still feel motivated like you were initially? What are you working towards? What's your ultimate goal? Like, what do you hope this job where do you hope this job takes you? And if you can't find those answers there, then maybe start thinking.
That's great. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Hopefully this speaks out to someone out there and they can take this into their life. And again, so you can find this podcast again through our website, through Spotify, through YouTube, and share the word. If you liked it, then please come back for our next episode. So that'll be in a week from today.
Yeah, and we'll go in depth with Ricardo's story, and we hope to continue moving forward with more stories that have, similar backgrounds, and more importantly, the challenges that they overcame and who they are and where they're at in life. And we just hope that you guys get motivated, encouraged, and feel connected to these stories that you'll end up hearing. And again, if you guys have any suggestions on topics that you guys want to hear, or I don't know, any comments you guys have on the past 2 episodes, please feel free to DM us at Brewed Minds, or reach out to us at our website, brewedminds.com. And thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you next time.